Howdy, everybody, and welcome to our latest workshop, The Ultimate Guide to Google. I almost said digital marketing, but this is the ultimate guide to Google ads for roofers. This is our latest and greatest workshop, and I think we've got some really cool things that we're going to share in this workshop for you guys, okay? A lot of things like what to avoid, what's new with Google ads, because, you know, just like anything in the digital marketing world, things are always changing, right? And Google for sure changes more than any other platform out there, including their ads platform. We're going to share some expert tips and tricks at the end, and then please stay to the end because there is going to be a workbook that's going to include an SOP for you guys. It's going to include a checklist and some prompts that you can use inside of ChatGPT in order to help you do some of these things that we're going to go over. Also, please, if you will, hold your questions until the very end for this, and we will go ahead and get started. If you came in and you were unmuted, please mute yourself. If you will, just keep muted until the very end, for questions, and that's just so that we can get through this. Otherwise, it's going to take forever, right? I like to talk. It happens. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into things. Who am I? My name is Chris Hunter. I am the Chief Marketing Officer of roofingsites.com. I'm also the author of the Ultimate Guide to Digital Marketing for Roofers. If you don't have this in your hands, I will get you a free digital copy at the very end of this. So please stay tuned for that. We are members of the NRCA, the National Roofing Contractors Association, the Roofing Contractors Association of Texas, and the Houston Area Roofing Contractors Association. A lot of words there, but we are members of these different associations. I've been doing search engine optimization since 1998. That I realized that really, really dates me. I've been doing really web design is how I started in this whole world. When I was working on jets, if you can see behind me, I was working on a jet in the Air Force called the F-117. I decided, you know what? I might be more interested in computers than jets. So I started learning how to do web design, and my goal was to start a web design firm, company back then in College Station, Texas, when I got out of the Air Force. I did that. We quickly moved into all sorts of other things, which includes search engine optimization. Back then, I knew that Google was going to be way bigger than what the yellow pages were, because everybody back then told me we had to, get ads in the yellow pages. So search engine optimization, Google itself specifically, has been the big dog in the digital marketing world for a very, very long time. Okay. Random fact about me. I love to go backpacking in the mountains. This is a picture of me and my sons when we were backpacking 2 years ago at Philmont Scout Ranch. Yes, we're heavily involved in scouts. I've got an Eagle Scout on the right of me, and almost Eagle Scout if he can just finish up 2 merit badges, and he's already done his Eagle project. This is relevant because on Friday of next week, I'm literally going to the same place, Philmont Scout Ranch, with my son on the left there. So super, super fun, super cool place to go to. Love being in the mountains away from technology. It happens, right? Okay, we are on a mission to double the size of 100 roofing companies by 2028. We are well on our way on that. And I think that we're going to hit that sooner rather than later. All right. If you want to double the size of your roofing company, love to help you. All right. So here's what I wrote my book on. This is a system that I've been working on for the past 20 plus years. Okay. We've added a lot of things to it. We take a lot of things out. I call this an evergreen system. Okay. Because it's made up of 4 pillars that, we add things to and take things out of as they work or stop working. Okay. So the first pillar, the base pillar of this entire system, the 4R roofing marketing system, is your reputation. If you don't have a solid reputation, nothing, and I mean nothing that we do in marketing is going to work. Okay. So what that means is really that you have to have a website that converts. You have to have online reviews these days because consumer behavior has shifted dramatically in the past 5 years since COVID. People use these $1,000 machines sitting in their pockets to do research on you. Okay. So your online reviews are critical, not only for that, from that standpoint, but for search engine optimization standpoint and all of these other things that we're going to talk about. Okay. Social media is in here because we have literally looked at thousands of roofing companies' marketing plans. And out of these thousands, I can put on one hand how many are actually updating their social media on a regular basis. A lot of them will go to their social media, hasn't been updated in years. Okay. And the very first thing that goes through a consumer's mind, a homeowner's mind is this company even in business anymore? And that's the last thing that we want going through their brains, right? So this is the reputation pillar. The next pillar is what I call the reach pillar. This is getting in front of more people today than knew about you yesterday. All right. Most of the things that people come to me about is about this pillar specifically right here. This is search engine optimization, Google Maps, Google Ads, Google local service ads, Facebook ads, social media, all of those things, right, that people think that they need in order to get leads in. And that's typically what people come to me about. I need more leads. Okay. The reach pillar, and I call this an evergreen system. The reach pillar is important because we have to get in front. We have to let people know about us, right? And we have to attract people to us, but things stop working. Okay. And a great example is what I shared earlier is that, when I first went into business, the Yellow Pages everybody at the Chamber of Commerce here in College Station, Texas told me that I needed a Yellow Pages ad. I did that. Right. And luckily I was partnered up with a technology guy. Right. And he set up this system, and this was way before a lot of the things that are commonly available today. But he set up this system that we could track calls coming in. So we put a phone number attached to that system, right, in the Yellow Pages. And we're talking in the early 2000s when this happened. Okay. The Yellow Page ads guy came back to me after a year because that's what they did. You could only had one chance a year to get into the Yellow Pages. They always tried to upsell you. They were just notorious for that. So they came back and I showed them the report that I had 0 phone calls. So nope, not going to do that. Okay. If that were in this system, I would have taken that right out of the reach pillar. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. Google right now, there's a big controversy right now on if Google is going to keep up with ChatGPT. Okay. A lot of people are using ChatGPT for their searches now. Right. So we are in currently research and development for ChatGPT for search engine optimization. It's AI SEO or AI EO, whatever, something like that. Right. But we have been in research and development on that for the past 6 months. And we think that we're getting down to what it takes to rank inside of ChatGPT. Okay. All right. So that's the reach pillar. Oops, wrong way. The next pillar is resell. Resell is important in out of the thousands of people that we've interviewed, very few companies actually go back to their customers over and over and over again to make sales. But yet the research shows that you're actually 800%, right? 8 times more likely to make a sale to somebody who has had a positive experience with you. All Fortune 500 companies understand this principle. Okay. So in the resell pillar for us, what we like to do is do cross-sell campaigns. If you offer gutters, windows, siding, solar, these are things that we can go back to your database with, right? Your CRM. If you're tracking all of that stuff, hopefully you are, and you're gathering email addresses and phone numbers. If you have this in one singular place, you can go back to that time and time and time again with these cross-sell opportunities. We've got a client that opened another company, and we're just simply going to go back to their database and, with this, just saying, hey, you used us before, just so you know, we've got this other company that we just started up. All right. This is a great cross-sell opportunity right there. There's a lot of other things in this pillar, but just know that you need to be going back to your database over and over and over again. It's what Fortune 500 companies do. So why are small businesses not doing it? Gang, I keep going the wrong way. Okay. Referrals. This is the last pillar. Referrals are so important. That's how we build our businesses at the start. But yet the bigger that you scale your business, the harder it actually is to actually have this system in place. When I ask, roofing company owners, what's your referral system? What's your referral program? And they're like, well, I sometimes I give this and sometimes I give that. And I don't know, we don't have it. And then when I ask, is it on your website? Have you sent it out to everyone in your database? Do all of your employees know about it? Are they incentivized for getting referrals? Right? Very, very, very few companies actually have a program, a referral program down. Okay. So again, referrals are so important because, I mean, those are 80% chance of getting that sale, most likely, right? Versus a 10% chance on a cold lead coming in from the internet, or a 25% chance of, if you've got your sales systems down, 25% chance. Okay. All right. So this is the 4R roofing marketing system. I go over this simply because what we're going to talk about today, Google Ads, is just one tiny little part in the 4R system. Okay. However, I believe Google Ads can add multiple millions to your bottom line if you do them right. Okay. So why Google? Okay. So Google has, like I said earlier, has been the big dog for the longest time in the search world, right? Like when I say the big dog, I mean like 95% of all search traffic goes through Google. That's changing. That's shifting a little bit. Okay. But traditionally in the past has been like 90-95%. Okay. Depending on the report that you're reading. I'm a big 80-20 rule believer. Pareto's law. Okay. That 80% of your results are going to come from 20% of your efforts. Okay. So that's why here at roofingsites.com, we concentrate on Google. Okay. It also is mainly because it's got the highest buyer intent. So many people come to me and they've hired a company to do Facebook ads for them, but that campaign completely flopped on its face. Here's why. People don't go to Facebook to search for roofing companies. They don't. They go to Facebook and Instagram and X and all of these other places to be entertained. They go to look and check in on their friends and family. Okay. They like to see dog pictures, cat pictures, food, kids, vacation, whatever, right? They're not going there to find a roofing company. They're not going there to solve their problem, with their roof. Okay. They go to Google for that right now. And in fact, they pull out this $1,000 machine sitting in their pocket to do that research. Okay. All right. Okay. Next, there are 4 main places that we need to concentrate inside of Google. Okay. We're going to talk about one of those today, but these are the 4 main places. Okay. The first spot are local service ads. You can go and look at our YouTube channel. I did a workshop a couple of months ago, I think, on local service ads and how to really fine tune those things and get those things running. I believe local service ads alone, you could add multiple millions to your bottom line. Okay. Same thing with this next one, which is Google Ads. Okay. Google Ads. This is what we traditionally know as Google Ads. The first one up there, a little bit different. They're newer to the industry. These are more of a pay per lead situation, kind of like Home Advisor or Angie's or anything like that, right? Or Thumbtack. All right. Pay per click ads, the traditional Google ads, every time someone clicks on an ad, you as the advertiser are charged. Okay. So that's the main difference in between those two. Now, the next area to concentrate on is Google Maps. We all know what Google Maps is. It is so very important. I did a workshop on that a couple of months ago as well. Okay. You can go to YouTube and go look that up on exactly how to set those up and how to optimize those things if you wish to do it yourself. Okay. Next is organic. We all know organic. Okay. That's what Google started out. That's what I started out in the industry learning how to do. I said 1998, by the way, if you do your history on that, my first site that I actually ranked was on Yahoo. All right. Google came along a little bit later. I saw how powerful that was. And I started concentrating on that for my own business. All right. Back then it was only organic. That was all Google was. And then they added in ads. Okay. And then they added in this maps, Google My Business. They've called it several different things over the years. Google My Business, Google Plus, all of these different things. They now call it Google Business Profile. Okay. And I'm pretty sure they're probably going to just shorten that to Google Business probably at one point in the future. All right. So these are the main four areas to concentrate on. Okay. So you've got local service ads, pay-per-click ads, Google ads. Okay. Maps and organic. Okay. Why Google ads? Well, there's a huge reason for this. All right. Google ads are super important because when people come to us, and this is one of the reasons that almost all of our programs have ads, some sort of ads feature in it, and simply because search engine optimization and ranking on Google Maps, local SEO, that takes a while. Okay. Ads, we can get it up and running pretty darn quick. Okay. We can get you getting leads in pretty darn quick, meaning like within a week to 2 weeks, you're starting to get leads in. Okay. With optimization, which that takes with any platform, you've got to optimize things, right? You can really get those things really humming and getting a really good return on your investment within about 2 to 3 months versus SEO. You're waiting 3 to 6 months for that to even get started. So we like to work when we bring clients in, depending on the program that we put them in, and where they are in their entrepreneurial journey. Okay. We choose to have ads running as well as SEO because SEO is your long-term, ads is your short-term, but I'd love to keep ads going because I call these poles in the water. If you think of going fishing, right? When I go fishing, I don't like just having one pole. Okay. I go out and I have 4 or 5, 6 different poles that are out there attracting the fish. Marketing, in my opinion, is the same. It's the same idea. Get one working, go get another pole, get that working. Go get another pole, get that working. Go get another pole, get that working. Okay. And again, Google Ads is just one of these poles. All right. Like I said, though, if you do it right, what we're going to go over here, I believe that you can add multiple millions to your bottom line. Okay. All right. So why do roofers and really just small businesses in general struggle with Google Ads? There's all sorts of things that go into Google Ads. It's a very complicated platform. Okay. And they change all the time. And the biggest thing that I see is that folks will set up their Google ads or have Google set them up. Okay. Don't ever do that, by the way. Don't ever let Google set up your ads. Okay. And here's why, and I'll just throw this out here. It's not in your best interest for them to set up those ads because they're going to set them up to where they make them money. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. Yes, they're still going to make money, but it's best if you do it yourself or have professionals like us go in there and optimize those things. Okay. The other biggest problem that I see is that roofers will set things up and then forget about it. And then they'll come back a month later and they'll be like, why did I just get charged $10,000? I didn't have a single lead come through this. Okay. Or even worse, they have agencies that don't know what they're doing the same exact thing. Okay. So last thing that we want is to not have an ROI. I guess that makes sense, right? Let's get an ROI on everything that we're doing with marketing. Okay. All right. So this is the simplified way of how Google Ads works. Okay. I really simplified this down into a little graphic here. Okay. First, it starts with search. All right. Someone's got to search. All right. And usually someone searching for something like a roofer near me, roofing company, roof repair in whatever area, whatever, something like that. Right. It always starts with the search, or a homeowner doing a search. Next, there's this thing called the auction. Okay. Inside of the auction, basically there's like a million different variables that go with this, but when you boil it down to it, it's most likely the advertiser who is going to spend more to get up to that number 1 or number 2 spot on the Google Ads area. That's overly simplified. There are a lot more variables that go into it, but there's this auction, right? That you're bidding to get that click to be shown in front of that searcher. Okay. Next step, the ad actually shows. Next step after that, hopefully somebody clicks on that ad. All right. If somebody clicks on that ad, then it'll take them to a page. And on that page, hopefully you're going to generate a lead, which is a call or someone filling out a form. All right. One of those two things typically happen. Okay. This is a very simplified version of what Google Ads is. So let's talk about pay-per-click versus real results, right? Clicks don't always equal leads. In fact, success usually depends on a whole bunch of different factors: your ad quality, your offer, and your follow-up. Okay, those are the three main variables that go into that. Average roofing ads get typically around 2 to 5% conversions if they're done wrong. Our campaigns, right, and we can testify to this, our campaigns typically can hit 15 to 30% conversions. In fact, I was looking at one of the ads this morning that you're going to see a screenshot of. That ad got a 17% conversion rate in the past 30 days. That's huge in the pay-per-click world. Okay, that's absolutely huge. All right, so what makes a campaign work? Well, number one, you got to target your service area, right? Please don't set up your ads with this massive service area. So I'm in Texas. Texas is pretty big, right? And we've got some clients that are in Florida, and we have broadened out their service area quite a bit. But the difference here is that they actually have offices in those different service areas. Okay, choose your service area to start with, and in fact, I say probably in a 13-mile grid, okay, of your office, and then expand slowly out from that. Choose the best neighborhoods. You can do that in Google. You can go all the way down to a zip code. You can go all the way down to, I could be wrong on this, but I think that you can go all the way down to a 1 mile radius. Okay. Which is most good neighborhoods. So if you know the best neighborhood in your service area, target that. Okay. You can do that with these ads. You just don't want to do a huge service area and you're not able to actually service it. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. Number two, use the right keywords. And I say right because there are so many different types of keywords, and Google has a tool built into it that can help you find what those right keywords are. As an example, you can do a search right now for, roofing company. All right. And you might think that that's the right keyword for you. And most of the times that one is. Okay. But let's say that you have a keyword like shingle repair, and you think that's the keyword that people are searching for. Okay. In the tool inside of Google itself, it can tell you exactly what the search intent is, how competitive that it is, and how many searches are happening for that. And I prefer when I'm looking at keywords to choose the ones that have the most clicks, the most people going through on that, the most views, I guess, the highest buyer intent. Okay, meaning that you don't want to advertise for shingles, right? For the most part. Shingle repair would be a good one, but not shingles. Okay. Metal roof is probably okay, but metal roof repair, right? Metal roof replacement would be better. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. Next, block the wrong traffic. Google has a way to block traffic out. All right. Your competitors are sitting out there clicking you out. Okay. And that often happens. Someone will sit out there and click 5-6 times on your ad. Google doesn't care, by the way. They don't care. They are totally okay with that. We've fought them over the past 20 years on this thing, right? We have software in place for all of our customers that is fraud software that basically adds the IP address that person is using or on in as a block, so that they don't see your ad anymore. Unfortunately, Google only allows, I think last time I checked was 10 of those. So that's where the software comes in, is that you can, it constantly shifts out and adds in those IP addresses for your competitors trying to click you out of your campaign. Okay. So, and the reason for this is that if you're paying, let's say $10 a click and you've got $100 budget for the day, they just have to click on your ad 10 times to get you out of there. Okay. That's the last thing that you want. You won't get an ROI for, as far as that goes. So we want to make sure that we're blocking those people. All right. The other part of blocking it is negative keywords. Okay. Negative keywords are very, very important. In the examples that I was given earlier, right? Let's say that let's take the shingles, right? We don't want shingles in there, and we definitely want to block that. Okay. And we have a list of about 1,000, I think, maybe more, of negative keywords that we built up over the years that we just simply plug into every single one of our campaigns. But you can see inside of Google exactly what people are searching for, what triggered your ads, essentially. Okay. And you want to make sure that you're using, and I didn't put this in here, but you want to use, don't use broad keywords, right? There's a difference between the different types of keywords. You've got broad keywords and you've got exact match keywords. You want to use those exact match as much as you possibly can. Okay. Versus the broad, because broads, what happen is, let's take a roofing company. If you've got a broad keyword of roofing company, what can happen is that someone will put in roof. I'm trying to think of a good example here, but I'm blanking on that. But it could be some sort of a variation there that isn't a good buyer intent and wouldn't be good for you. Okay. It wouldn't lead to any kind of a lead for you. So look in your searches, add negative keywords to that list to block this wrong type of not only traffic, but the wrong kind of a keyword as well that's being used. Okay. A lot of times what we find is competitors' keywords are not good, because they'll if you come up for a competitor in your ad, they're going to try to call you and they're going to, hey, can I talk to George? Well, we don't have a George here. Who are you calling? Oh, I'm calling Acme Roofing Company. Well, I'm sorry. We're actually, College Station Roofing Company, whatever. Right. So it turns into something that's not a lead. You still paid for it. Okay. So might as well put the competitors in there as well. All right. This is kind of an important slide. Make sure, understand this. Click 1 if this all makes sense to you, or type in 1, not click 1. All right. 1, 1, 1, 1. All right. So let's talk what makes up a good ad. I took a screenshot of one of our ads today. This is the one that as I looked, is making a 17% conversion rate. I blocked out a few things, but forgot that top one there. Don't ignore that, right? Ignore the guy behind the screen there. Okay, so what makes up a good ad? A good ad has, first of all, in the URL, we want to match the search as much as we possibly can. Okay, that's the very first thing. Number 2, we need a headline, right? That's the one in the blue. I'm not sure. Can y'all see my mouse? Okay. So the one in the blue right here, this is the headline or the title of this ad. Okay. Next, we want to have copy here that not only matches the keyword search, but also is matching up with the buyer's intent, with the searcher's intent. Okay. If they're looking for a roof repair company, the best roof repair company near me, right? We want to make sure that the copy in there matches up as much as we possibly can with that. The next down here is that we need very strong call to actions. A call to action is something basically telling someone exactly what we want them to do. Okay. We have these on websites, and we're going to get to the website here in a little bit. Call to actions are super, super important in any kind of marketing. And I don't care if that's a billboard. I don't care if that's, your truck wraps, or in any of your digital marketing. Okay. Call to actions tell people what to do. Simple. Okay. So in this ad, we have claim a free inspection. We have our client reviews, because they're going to be wanting to research you a little bit. Okay. And then we have call, and then the phone number on there. That way they can directly call you right then and there, which is super, super important. The call is super, super important. Okay. All right. So that's kind of what makes up a high converting ad. Okay. Makes sense? Now let's talk about where we're sending that traffic. We have to send them somewhere, right? So we're sending them to a landing page, which is just simply a page on your website. Okay. In this, and I blocked out, the company here, right? And their phone number, because I didn't want people just calling them willy-nilly there. Okay. So what makes up a good landing page? First of all, and this is my opinion, right? A call to action. And I'm showing the mobile version of this because 90% of the traffic is coming from this $1,000 machine sitting in people's pockets, right? So we might as well optimize for that interaction first. Okay. So very first thing, call to action. We've got that up at the very top. We've got a logo, right? That looks decent. It doesn't look like it came from Microsoft Word. All right. It's a decent looking, nice looking logo. Right directly under the logo, and this is the way that we build all of our websites, and we have for years and years and years, a phone number right there that they can click on that in that $1,000 machine to give you a call. Okay. I want that front and center, and I like red. This company has a lot of red in their brand. I like red for call to action buttons simply because it draws your attention to that call to action, to what I want them to do. It's just like a stop sign. You're driving down the road. Okay. You see a stop sign. And you're like, oh, I need to stop. Okay. If we have red call to action buttons as they're scanning through this page, any page on any website, any call to action, we want to make sure that it actually draws their attention. It doesn't blend in with the brand. Okay. So a good example of this, I see this all the time. People have like all these really nice looking brand colors on their website, but their call to action buttons are the same color. So it just blends right in. It doesn't stand out. We want, in order to convert someone, to let them know exactly what we want, we need it to stand out. Okay. All right. So next thing here is, as you can see, we've got a headline that matches up pretty much with the headline of what they just searched for. Okay. We want that buyer intent to match with what we're providing them as an offer. Okay. Get your free roofing estimate today. That's what they were looking for. The other thing that you'll see on this screen, by the way, and I've got a couple of screenshots because it's really long on mobile, right? But the very next thing that we see here, right here, is this text little button, right? Click here to text us. This is super important to have on your website these days because we want to give people as many chances as we can to contact us. Call. A lot of people in Gen Z and what's the new Gen Alpha, right? The younger folks, right? Not me. I'm Gen X. Okay. The younger folks they just want to text someone. They don't want to call, right? My kids, my 20-year-olds, my 20 somethings, they don't want to call anybody. They will just sit there and text. Okay. So we want to give them as many chances as we can to get that lead in. Okay. Next, and this is just simply scrolling down, the screen. We've got a form right there. Okay. That's important because we want to give as many chances, right? And a form is super important. We want to capture their information. We want to capture their first name and last name, their phone number, their email address, and we say description, but this is essentially what do we need? What can we help you with? Okay. That's it. You don't need street address. You don't need city. You don't need state. You don't need zip code. I see so many lead generation forms that are way too long. Okay. Way too long. That information can be gathered after you get the lead in. And we've done testing on this, and it's literally a 10x amount that you get leads in with shorter forms. Shorter, the better. Okay. Only gather the information that you need. Okay. So I didn't take a whole bunch of screenshots on this to go down the page. There's other things that are involved, but these are the most important ones. In the heading, you want to make sure you have your logo that's professional. Number 2, you want to have call to actions that stand out. 3, on mobile, please have your phone number available right up front, right top. Okay. Have a form, have a way for them to text you. Simple. Okay, so moving on, we track 3 metrics. Okay, these are the 3 biggest metrics, honestly, in my opinion, to track. I'll add in a bonus 4th one here in a little bit, but click-through rate. This is the percentage of amount of people that viewed your ad to how many people actually clicked through that ad. Okay, so that's called a click-through rate. You want that high and not low. Cost per lead, just the opposite. We want that low. Right? And lower the better. All right. So cost per lead is just basically what did it cost to actually get a lead in? And the division on this is pretty simple, is how many visitors did you get, how much did you pay to get people there? and how many people actually converted into leads. All right. How many people called you? How many people filled out forms? How many people texted you? Okay. Next is conversion rate. Is your conversion rate high or low? You want it higher, right? Just like the click-through rate. You want a higher conversion rate on, and this is mainly a landing page thing. You want it higher versus lower. Okay. So here's a few kind of things that we look at, right? If your click-through rate is under 2%, you've got an issue with your ad copy, your ad itself. Okay. If it's over 2%, you're doing good. Okay. In that 17%, that's with a lot of optimization, right? That our team is doing to get it to that 17%, because we're constantly testing headlines. We're constantly testing the copy that's going in. We're constantly testing, click, the call to action buttons and the call to actions, right? So those are the three main things inside of a Google search ad to really test out. Okay. Next thing that we look at is cost per lead, right? If it is over $100, you've got the wrong keywords. Okay. Your cost per lead really should be somewhere in the range of between $25 and $50. Okay. I would say $100 is okay for cost per acquisition, right? For that lead, because that still puts you in that 10% of your overall revenue range. Okay. Could be $80, could be $100. Depends on how much that you are charging for your new roofs. Okay. Your average job. Conversion rate. We want to make sure, I said under. Oh yeah. So under, sorry, I'm reading this wrong. All right. Means that you've got a landing page problem if it's underneath 10%. Okay. Your landing page, 10% is kind of that measuring stick. We want it a lot higher than that. Okay. On how good that this thing is converting. Now, the next bonus one that I was talking about is your cost per acquisition per client, per customer, per homeowner, per new roof. Okay. That's a simple division right there. How much did you spend, right? Divided by how many sales that you made that month. We track this on a monthly basis with our clients. We want to make sure that we are underneath 10% of what they are charging for their roofs. Okay. So some clients charge, their average job is $15,000, right? Which is national industry re-roof, what it costs, right? So we want to make sure that we're underneath that 10%. If we're over that 10%, in that case, so if cost per acquisition is over $1,500 for a $15,000 roof, we need to optimize a lot of things there. Okay. And that could be ads. It could be landing pages. It could be the sales follow-up, which is what we typically find. Okay. Is that the sales follow-up needs a lot of work. That system needs to be working. Okay. Okay. Here's some common mistakes to avoid, right? And we talked about a little bit of this, right? Wrong targeting. Make sure that you're targeting the right area. Okay. Number 2, no negative keywords. You need to be adding negative keywords on a regular basis to your ad campaigns. We do it weekly for all of our clients. And if we have time, a little bit more than that. You definitely don't want to let it go 4 or 5 months with no negative keyword additions, because you're going to see when you look at the actual searches, people are searching for Acme Roofing Company and all these other things that you need to be adding on a regular basis. Okay. Roofing supplies. That's another one. That's another one that I was thinking of that we commonly see, and that's in our negative keyword list to begin with. But that's another big one that when you have your broad match keywords set, a roofing company or something like that, that could trigger roofing supply search. Okay. So make sure that you have roofing supplies or roofing supply or roofing supplier in as negative keywords. All right. The next one here, poor follow-up. And I kind of alluded to that. And this is something that we are working on with a lot of our clients. Some of our clients, the ones that really have this whole system dialed in, that are growing substantially, have this piece figured out. Okay. Sales follow-up is so critical to having a good marketing system. You can send as many leads as you want to into your sales funnel, but if your follow-up is horrible, meaning you're not answering the phones, meaning that you're not following up at least 15 times, and I've got this somewhere in one of these slides here, right? Meaning that you are not ensuring that the person answering the phone is actually setting an appointment, Okay. That's another critical thing that we found over the years is that the person answering the phone actually needs to set an appointment right then and there and not just hand off to a salesperson the contact information, because guess what? That homeowner is long gone. They have called 4 to 5 other roofing companies before that salesperson gets back with them. Okay. So super critical. Set the appointment. If it's the wrong date, wrong time, adjust it after the fact. The big part is that you've solved that person's problem. Okay. No tracking. Google has a lot of moving pieces. One of the biggest moving pieces is this tracking code that you need to put in on your landing pages. Okay. And this basically tells Google that was a lead, that wasn't a lead. Okay. The more feedback that we can give to Google that we're getting leads, that this is a lead. Okay. Whether it was a phone call, which you can do that with phone calls, by the way, whether it's a form fill out or whether it's an SMS, right? All of these things can be tracked and should be tracked. Okay. And given back to Google as a feedback loop. Okay. Because what happens is that over time, Google starts saying, okay, well, these guys are actually making money with this. Let's put their ad up on top. Okay. These guys are responsive. Let's put these guys up on top. All right. So tracking is super, super critical. We see this all the time, setting and forgetting. Right. And it's just a horrible thing to do. Anything, and especially with ads. You can't just set up an ad and just walk away from it. It needs constant maintenance to that ad, whether you're adding negatives or whether you're doing A/B split testing, right, on your ads or on your title or headline. Okay. Or even the URL. That's another piece that you can test out. And the call to actions. There's all these different moving pieces that you should be constantly touching your account. If you have an agency currently running your pay-per-click ads, there's a little thing called history. Click on that thing. Okay. If you click on the history, it'll tell you how much they're actually touching your account. You can't imagine how many accounts that I've looked at personally that their ad agency has not touched in a year or longer. Okay. Make sure that, and if you've got someone in-house as the business owner, the way to check what they are doing is to go into the history tab and to see, are they adding negatives? Are they adding new keywords? Are they deleting keywords that don't make sense? Are they doing anything at all in those ads? Okay. So don't set and forget. All right. So let's talk about budget. This is one of my biggest questions that I get, So budget is super important when it comes to Google, because there's a certain point to where you can advertise, but it's not going to work because you don't have enough budget. Okay. You can put too much budget in. Okay. And yes, that is a real thing. You can put too much budget in and not get an ROI. All right. So what you want to do is kind of start small and grow from there. Our minimum, just so you know, when we go in is $1,000 ad budget. Okay. Here's how the math works on that. Okay. So let's say that we do have $1,000 ad budget. We're in a mid-sized market. This does not apply to Atlanta. This does not apply to DFW. This does not apply to anywhere in Florida. Okay. $1,000 ain't going to cut the mustard. Okay. So let's say we're in a mid-sized market like College Station, Texas. Okay. This is 300,000 population. We've got several really good neighborhoods that we can target here. $1,000 might get me started. Right. But with that $1,000, you can get around 20 to 40 leads if things are optimized. And again, that takes time to get to that point, but you could get upwards of 40 leads from that. Okay. If your landing page, if your sales follow up is not optimized, you're going to get a lot less than that. Okay. And it's not going to make a whole lot of sense. Let's say that we have $1,000, right? And we are fully optimized. All right. And we are getting 40 leads. And let's say, throwing this out there, commonly what we see is $25 per lead. Okay. Maybe $50 per lead. And we'll do the easy math on this. All right. $25 per lead. And if your close rate is 25%, which we want all of our clients at 25% or higher, right? One of our clients, the one that I was showing you the ad for, we looked at their close rate from a cold lead to a sale last month was close to 60%, if I remember right? Like they have their sales system dialed in and they're killing it. Okay. And it's just simple. It's a simple system. And we'll get into that here in a second. But If it's at 25% or higher, we've got $1,000 budget, $25 a lead, 40 phone calls from that, right? And your close rate is 25%. That's 10 jobs. Well, if your average job is more than $8,000, that's $1 million that you can add every single year just simply with that $1,000 budget. Okay. We got some markets that their average jobs are $25,000, $30,000. Okay. So the higher that number is, the better. Like for instance, metal roofs. Metal roofs are typically $30,000 jobs, right? So what if you were getting 1 or 2 inquiries every single day, right? And you're able to convert those things. You're adding quite a bit to your bottom line. This client that I showed you earlier, we went back for the entire year. They had a 55x, 55 times ROI on all of their marketing, which included our fees. Okay. They made $5 million and spent $90,000 on that for the entire year. Okay. Pretty good. Really good. In fact. Okay. All right. We're coming up to the end. I need to stop talking as much. All right. Follow up. We've talked about this several times. Follow up is absolutely everything. Make sure that, you know that most leads convert if you respond fast. The latest research says that if you didn't have a chance to grab a call, you have to follow up within 5 minutes or less. That's the latest research that I read, probably a year old at this point, from Harvard Business Review, that you have to follow up within 5 minutes or everyone's gone. That homeowner is way gone. Number 2, you have to follow up 15 times. That was in that report. Okay. It used to be 8 times or 5 times or something like that. That's what I was told on the sales front a long time ago. It's now up to 15 times that you have to follow up. And the way that I tell clients to follow up is every touch, you should call, you should text. All right. Two different versions of follow up every single touch for those 15 times. So you're really contacting them 30 times. Okay. All right. Does that make sense? Oh, actually, and I read it. I didn't put it in here, but I've in my notes, I've got it. If you set up auto text reminders, some sort of automation, and there's this really cool thing called AI automation. And if you've been following me for any length of time, you've heard me talk about it, for the past 2 years. AI automation is super, super important for the sales front. And you should have that in place. We've got this in place for a lot of our clients. We've got the biggest issue that we ran into a long time ago was, roofers just weren't answering their phone calls, right? They're getting too many spam calls. They're getting too many calls from Angie's, all that kind of stuff. So in the past 6 months, we have set up what we call Samantha. She's an AI receptionist to do this, to gather that phone information. Creepy, cool. It works. Okay. She sounds great. She says, "Hi, this is Samantha. I'm an AI receptionist for blah, blah, blah company," right? It works because guess what? If you're not answering your phone, this is the modern day version of a voicemail. Okay. But the coolest part is that she will actually set an appointment just like a secretary would, just like some receptionist taking that phone call would. Okay. Number 2 is follow up. You need to have sales follow up. We have an AI bot that helps do that as well. Okay, that we're implementing this next quarter into all of our clients to help them on the sales front, because the higher that their sales conversions are, the better marketing works, right? And so it's just a critical thing to have in this day and age. Okay. Oh, here we go. Answer every call, follow up and leads. These were my notes, by the way. Continue to follow up at least 15 times. All right. So this is the roofing ads blueprint. Okay. Right keywords plus good ads, plus a landing page, plus tracking, plus follow-up equals success, right? It's not just about the ads. It's the system that you're putting into place, right? This works if every piece is in place. Follow-up, follow-up, follow-up is super critical. That company that I was talking about, here's what they do, right? And I've gotten with them. I asked them, how is your sales follow up, or how is your sales conversion rate so much better than all of our other clients? And they gave us the exact blueprint. We're putting it into an SOP and giving that to all of our clients. Okay. It's simple. They commit to answering every phone call within 3 rings. Okay. They have multiple people in their phone system that are answering those phones. So that if one person is at lunch or in the bathroom or not there that day, the other person is answering. Okay. That's step number one. Have that system in place. Step number two, they're setting an appointment. They're qualifying that homeowner as they call, and they're setting the appointment right then and there. They're not handing it off to a salesperson for them to come back and follow up with. Okay. Appointments being set. Number three, all right, and this goes into the sales funnel here, is that after, well, actually, let me backtrack. Number three is the estimate stage, right? They send an estimate out same day. There are systems out there that you can use that you can send it out that same hour. I highly recommend that because speed to sale is so critical. Okay. But step number four is that within 24 hours, the salesperson is tasked to follow up with that estimate. Just want to make sure you have any questions, any issues that you can, so that way you can counteract any of those objections right then and there. Okay. I've seen training that says you should set another appointment, right? Not call. Okay. To go over the estimate. Right. But calling is probably just fine. Call that person, ask, about that. If they don't convert there, they now have their receptionist tasked, those two people that are sitting in their back office tasked with following up. That I think they only follow up 5 times. I asked how many times. I suggest those 15 times until they tell you to go away or yes. Okay. That kind of a system, if you put that into place, the marketing that comes in, any lead that comes in, nothing is left behind at that point. Okay. And that's the common issue that we see with roofers hiring people like us. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. Follow up. I can't stress that enough for any of your marketing, not just here in ads, but it's super, super, super important. Okay. Give me one if that's making sense to you. Tips and tricks. I'll go through these quick because we're coming up to the hour. Ninja hack. All right. In my mastermind group, in our mastermind group, we're supposed to come up with a ninja hack, quote unquote. Right. And the entire group peers vote on what's the best ninja hack. Right. We meet up 3 times a year in person in Miami. Okay. Here's a ninja hack for you. And it's simple. Add a booking calendar to your landing page instead of just an estimate form. If your receptionist is going to, or your intake person is going to a scheduler somewhere to set up an appointment, put that sucker on that landing page. Let them self-book. Okay. That's what we do at roofingsites.com. If you go to our website and you want to schedule a strategy session, right, with us, you're going to go to a scheduler because it's most convenient instead of all this back and forth. Well, does this time work? Does that time work? How about this day? Right. Let them self-choose. That's what people want these days. Okay. Number 2, business hours. Hire a call center or hire people to be your back office staff. Okay. I prefer call centers or something like Samantha because it's 24 hours. If someone calls at 11 p.m. and I had a roofer once, we were listening to a call. Someone called him at 11 p.m. He picked up the phone and started cussing that person out. I was like, what are you doing? Right? It's because he didn't want to take a phone call at 11. So have a call center, right? Having something like a call center or the AI receptionist, Samantha, something like that in place would make more sense. Okay. Plus, by the way, having something like that in place, that makes your business way more sellable if you want to sell your company in the end. Okay. Because it's not relying on you doing everything. And part of that is answering phone calls. Next, weekly. There's a weekly task. Work the Google ads. Okay. Add keywords, negative keywords at a minimum. Okay. Go through every single week and just make this a task. If you're doing it yourself or you're teaching someone in your in-house, staff to do this every single week. Monthly, switch out your ads. Okay. Do some A/B split testing. A/B split testing is simply that you're testing one thing versus another. What's going to get a better click-through rate? What's going to get a better conversion rate? Okay. On landing pages. Click-through rates is what we're looking for ads. Okay. Not going to go too in depth on A/B split testing, but look it up, right? Do that on your headlines, on your title, and then on your description, and then on your call to action, then go back and do that over and over and over again until you have an ad that's converting at 50% or more. Okay. Quarterly, Measure and adjust, right? We should be doing this as business owners anyways. Every single quarter, we just started quarter 3. Okay. You should at least have it on your books to measure and adjust your entire business at this point. We got to do the same thing with our ads. We got to do the same thing with every campaign. Did this work? Did this not work? Is this working? Is it not working? If so, how do we adjust? How do we fine tune this? How do we sharpen the sword? Okay. How do we get better? Most important, and I say this on a lot of my workshops, do what everyone else is not doing. A lot of the things that I talked about today, most roofing companies are not doing a lot of the things. So go back, if you're watching this on YouTube, go all the way back to the start, go through it again, use AI. AI will tell you, with the transcript, will tell you exactly the steps, all that kind of stuff. But a lot of the things that we do in marketing, we have to stand out. Okay. By standing out, we actually make things work. Okay. We can't be just like everyone else. And a great example of this, we had a hailstorm that came through last year here in College Station. On one of the main corners of coming into my subdivision, literally on one corner, someone had put a sign. So a roofing company had put a sign. Next time I drove by there were 10 signs. Next time I drove by there were 50 signs. And I'm like, how are you standing out? Put it on the other corner, right? Something other than doing what everybody else is doing. It doesn't stand out whatsoever. So same thing with digital marketing. We have to stand out. We constantly have to be improving. So that's what these workshops are all about. I do these workshops every single month. This is my 48th consecutive workshop that I've put on here. 48th, 4 years in a row. I've put one on every single month. So that's all that I have. Here is the link to download the workbook. Pull open that $1,000 machine sitting in your pocket. Use the QR code to download it to your phone, or if you're on your desktop, go to roofingsites.com/Google-ads-workbook. Okay. Inside of this workbook, you're going to find all sorts of really cool things. I put an SOP in there. I put a checklist of what you should be doing on setup, on weekly, monthly, quarterly, and some tips and tricks in there as well. I also added in some AI prompts that you can literally copy and paste into ChatGPT to give you certain things like your ads, tell you where your best customers are at if you don't know that information. Things like that. Okay. Super cool. And I geek out on AI, but it's just the best tool I think that has come along in my lifetime. Okay. And we should all be paying attention to it and using it in our businesses. Okay. Next, if you don't have my book in your hands, The Ultimate Guide to Digital Marketing for Roofers, this is the exact blueprint. It's 336 pages of my past 20 years of knowledge in digital marketing. Okay. This is the exact blueprint of what we do here at roofingsites.com for our customers. If you want to do it yourself, grab that book. You can get it for free. If you go to go.roofingsites.com or use the QR code right here in order to get it. It's a digital copy. If you become a customer, you get a signed copy, by the way, from me of this. And I know that's kind of egotistical of me to say that, but you do get a signed copy of me. Not of me, sorry, of the book. All right. If you like knowing how all this stuff works, you'd rather have someone do it for you, we would love to help. Go to roofingsites.com/schedule to schedule a strategy session with us. And we will diagnose exactly what's wrong with your marketing. All right. We've done thousands. I'm pretty sure we're at 2,000 or 3,000 of these, assessments that we've done of marketing, for roofing companies. That's where we start at. We do an assessment. We figure out what's wrong, and then we build a plan to fix it. Okay. So if you are wanting to do that, we would love to help you. Go to roofingsites.com/schedule in order to schedule a strategy session with us. And happy birthday to America. All right. See y'all later.